Wednesday. It is Shot Caller Live. I'm your boy, Chef Dunna. It says 7 o'clock. I didn't change that yet. From the multiverse, along with my boy, my brother from another mother, JT, the Dynasty Don. How we doing today?
Look at us. We're starting on time. How about that?
Yes.
Marginal improvement for us. Let's go.
Marginal. I mean, that's what it all is about.
Yeah.
The perfectionism went out the window in the first episode, and we're just we're just coming back strong with a little progress. You know what I'm saying?
And this episode is going to be unofficially brought to us by White Claw Hard Seltzer Tropical Pomelo Smash. So
smash, White Claw smash. I was watching the zombie What If last night.
Oh yeah,
and just rewatching it, and I mean, I don't know, that kind of shit just like really is cool to me. And then just seeing, like, it starts with Bruce coming in like he does in Infinity War, and the fucking basically Doctor Strange's cape like saves the day, right, at first, and then just
spoiler alert,
everyone dies. Everyone's already dead, and then more people die. Captain America gets cut in half, so it's good stuff. Speaking of dead on arrival, we don't know where this guy is going, and that's why we start every episode with Dalvin San Diego. Where he will go, no one knows. But for now, he is in purgatory. He's just nowhere.
I think it's kind of interesting that we're, the one like kind of piggybacking off the what if situation. What if like the Raiders rescind the franchise tag on Jacobs, sign Cook for less than the tender, and then kind of reallocate the savings elsewhere? I mean, the likelihood of that feels like less than 1%, but I still think it makes the most sense for Dalvin to go to Miami. But his agent is clearly, kind of playing the market a little bit here, where it's like eventually a running back is going to get hurt. We are in the early days of training camp. We just played the Hall of Fame game, and it's an inevitability that someone's going to get hurt, and that'll strengthen their leverage position.
And the real what if is that, what if Christian McCaffrey went to the Vikings and Dalvin Cook went to the Panthers? How the universe would have changed. I am the watcher.
Okay. All right.
And I'm going to watch myself change my name. So we're going to kick off this episode with, let's see, what was it? Well, we kicked it off with Dalvin Cook. And secondly, we will be talking a bit about
Alvin Kamara.
Alvin Kamara, thank you. Another running back that he was suspended last week, 3 games following whatever happened last year, because obviously there wasn't enough evidence to suspend him for more games. But remember, if you bet $1 against the NFL, you're fucked. And so, going forward, we have some would you rathers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather draft Alvin Kamara or someone else? And I'll start with an easy one. I think we may have touched on it last week. Alvin Kamara or Mike Evans?
Kamara.
Let's see. Alvin Kamara or Calvin Ridley?
Oof. Ridley.
Alvin Kamara or Justin Fields?
I'm assuming we're
talking QB.
One. Kamara.
Alvin Kamara or let's see, what was the other one? Alvin Kamara or T. Higgins?
Wow. I mean, if I'm going to take Ridley over Kamara, I guess I have to go Higgins over Kamara. But it's probably a little closer than we think, because if Burrow's going to miss the first 4 games, kind of is almost an effective suspend. Kind of equates to a 3-game suspension for Kamara. I'm going to go T. Higgins.
Let's see. Another Alvin Kamara or Miles Sanders?
PPR, Kamara, 0.5, Sanders.
Yeah, I think you got any?
Well, I mean, I think probably the most interesting points in redraft right now is, we were talking off air about Javonte. I think that's probably where you have to make a decision there, Kamara or Javonte, or a Kamara or Madison. What is the point of differential where it's like Kamara's going to be out for 3 games, but he's going to have he's going to be attached to Derek Carr, who is a quarterback that we know not really mobile, is happy to take check downs and dump it off. Should be a relatively good fit for Kamara versus what he's seen the last couple years. The Saints are in a relatively easier division. I think the Panthers are kind of the only plus defense there. They play their home games on turf indoors, good home field advantage, pretty good weather all around the division. You got the Falcons in a dome, you got Tampa in Florida, and Carolina can get a little iffy in the colder months, but I don't think it's ever been anything like, whoa, that we can't play here in December. So you take all of that into account, and it's kind of like the suspension is much less than we anticipated. 3 games is, fairly easy to navigate. It just comes down to, do you think Kamara is going to be healthy or not? And the past couple of years, is it injury and ineffectiveness, or is it just they don't have a QB and the offense is lagged without Sean Payton? In my opinion, I probably just split the difference there. I do think Kamara is going to be a top 15 option at running back, which is not something that was stone cold a week ago. So, especially in a PPR format, if it's PPR, I'm very bullish on Kamara.
Kamara or Joe Mixon?
So I would go Kamara here, just based off of historical production, and I really, really don't like anything I saw out of Joe Mixon last year. It just looks like he's been in too many car crashes, and I know they did get Orlando Brown there, and that everyone's like, oh, improvement on the O-line, which is fair, but no Burrow potentially for the first month. They're going to stack the boxes. For all the reasons that we kind of like hate Ezekiel Elliott, I think those apply to Joe Mixon, man. If Mixon was still the Joe Mixon that we're used to, why would he cut his salary in half? Which is effectively what he did with the Bengals. So, I don't know. I'm still out on Joe Mixon, for better or worse.
Amari Cooper or Alvin Kamara?
Tough call here. I think the positional scarcity for Kamara kind of plays out here a little bit, and Cooper is typically good to miss about 3 games a year.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he's healthy or not, he does do a disappearing act from time to time, but I do think he's overall underrated.
And 2 suspension-plagued players, Hopkins or Kamara?
Interesting. Kamara. I mean, for the same reasons, Nuke typically plays the full season, but he is going into his age 31 season. I do think some of the separation concerns are valid, and I don't know if Tannehill is accurate, but I don't know how much of a QB he is, where it's like, I'm just going to throw it there and hope that Nuke comes down with it, because that's a big. I think that's what people kind of don't realize with DeAndre Hopkins, where it's very much, you just have to throw it there and hope that he catches it. Not every quarterback operates like that.
Yeah, and
we kind of saw that with Baker. We saw that with Baker.
Yeah, when he was
and
on the
Odell.
Texans, I mean, when he was on the Texans getting passes thrown to him by the late shadow of Matt Schaub and Tom Savage and, those backup quarterbacks. And I think maybe
Ryan
even,
Mallett, RIP.
yeah. And was Brock Osweiler there too at that time?
Osweiler, TJ Yates.
He TJ Yates, yeah. And he had the highest catch rate in the NFL of passes that weren't supposed to be caught. And so, I mean, granted, this is 5 years later. But those instincts kind of don't go away. Granted, some of the mobility and ability may have depleted, but I mean, those instincts are there's certain intricacies that I feel like that aren't highlighted by certain things, like some common sense thrown into there, and it really proves to be a mainstay in these superstar perennial wide receivers.
Yeah, I hate the fit kind of.
Mm-hmm.
You could honestly put any wide receiver in Tennessee, and I probably downgrade them. I really wanted to see Hopkins go to Miami. I think that would have been a perfect fit for him. You have two of the fastest guys in Waddle and Hill, and then you could have DeAndre Hopkins as an intermediate option. I think that would have been the best fit. But
and just to bring it full circle before we move on with the last position that we usually leave out, Hawkinson or Kamara?
Ooh, and we're still doing redraft, right?
Yes.
Yeah. If it's probably either full PPR or 0.5, I'm probably still going Kamara. Mm-hmm. And the main reason for that is just we've seen the tight end market move a little bit here. And, what's the difference between me spending like a 5th or 6th round pick on Hawkinson when I could get Evan Ingram in like the 10th round?
Yeah.
So, while Hawkinson probably outscores Ingram, how many points per game are we talking about? Are we talking like 1 to 2? I again, when it comes to tight ends, it's really Kelsey or, I'm waiting. Mm-hmm. I don't want to spend too much there.
And speaking of waiting, don't wait to smash that like and smash that subscribe, or go to the Sleeper app and put in promo code ShotCallers to double your deposit up to $100. And if you're looking for some merch, go check out Trophy Smack. You can talk some smack, award some people. You can buy your own trophy for yourself if you want to, and use code ShotCallers for 15% off your purchase. And moving forward, we got redraft strategies. We're in the thick of redraft, and it's just coming to right now. People are starting to start up their leagues and do drafts and everything. So there's some draft strategies that you need to implement depending on what pick you are. For me this year, I am going best available approach. I will be drafting more wide receiver heavy, looking for RBs in the later rounds, because there are more prevalent starting running backs in the later rounds, especially because the NFL is a committee-led backfield now. It has changed, but there's still nothing wrong if you've got strategies of no running backs, which is drafting wide receivers and a quarterback, and then going running backs and then late round tight end. And then there's RB heavy, which is the most classic. RB heavy, tight end, drafting quarterback and wide receivers in the mix. But I'm kind of trying to get into the best of both worlds and hitting the best available. Even if I don't like the guy, but the value is there, I will draft him because I've been burned before.
Yeah, no, I mean, for a lot of us, how we kind of like grew up with fantasy was just kind of like you stack RBs early and you worry about everything else later. RBs were king. But, the league has evolved, and, the NFL is going to continue to evolve here until running backs get paid, until, maybe we see differentials in rules. It's a quarterback's league right now, which in turn makes wide receivers that much more valuable. And it's just kind of kind of a little bit of trickle down economics here, where it's like everybody at the youth level doesn't want to play running back anymore. They want to play wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to come into the league now and be wide receiver ready. I mean, it's not too long ago that a rookie wide receiver finishing top 10 was unheard of. You know, you'd hope for a wide receiver 3 season out of that, but we've kind of been spoiled, I think, a little bit with Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, both generational guys at the wide receiver spot. And then you have Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Amon-Ra, Devontae Smith, Drake London to a lesser extent. And even, you know, George Pickens, you could kind of like toss in there a little bit. Pickens kind of had the rookie wide receiver year of yesteryear, where it was kind of like, I think he had about 50 some odd catches, 800 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's about what we generally expected from rookie receivers pre Justin Jefferson, pre Jamar Chase. And, you know, we could see a leap there. You look at Calvin Ridley's rookie year, and he was like a top 10 pick. I just think we have to temper our expectations. Things will regress back to the mean a little bit here. So I do think that there is a general discount right now on running backs. And I, you know, it's exciting now to hear a lot of these running backs, you know, it's kind of like everybody's doing great in training camp, and every running back is running 50% of their play time out of the slot. And then we get to the season, it's like, yeah, we're not going to see them in the slot. Like right now, Jahmyr Gibbs is a slot receiver, apparently. You think that Detroit's really going to put Jahmyr Gibbs in the slot over Amon-Ra?
And apparently Bijan Robinson is the RB3 in the depth chart.
Oh yeah, that's total gamesmanship. I mean, one could make the joke about Arthur Smith though, because you know he's the guy who has Kyle Pitts blocking on 80% of plays. So
hopefully not anymore. Hopefully that's why they got Jonnu.
Yeah.
Speaking of running backs development, the trade went through. I sent Cam Akers and a second for Javonte Williams.
Interesting. It's better than sending your first.
Mm-hmm.
I would not have sent. It's just, to me, it's just, I don't look. This isn't, you know, me taking a shot at you. It's just bad process to me at this point on August 9th. I don't want to send my first when I don't know what my team is. Anything can happen. A surefire contender can, you know, be lit on fire by week 1. We saw it. I mean, I had a team, I think it was 2001. I had McCaffrey, Saquon, and Michael Thompson, right? Going into the year. And like, it was after they all had like their like crazy seasons. Thought that was a contender. I didn't have any of them by week 6. This is in booked, by the way. I didn't have any of them by week 2, week 3. They were all gone. I still won the championship that year. You have to make pivots. You have to make concessions. And right now, I just think is the time where don't give up your ones, unless you got like Mahomes, Hurts, Bijan, and CMC. Like don't go wild. Keep your ones in your back pocket.
And AJ is reading our mind, because that is one of our next segments. First impressions on Hard Knocks. What have you thought about it so far?
What up, AJ? I thought you didn't really even. I don't think anyone really needs to watch episode 1, and that might be you know, not that anyone from HBO is watching our podcast anyway, but I just you can just look down a Twitter timeline and you could have seen everything you needed to see. I didn't take away anything too impressionable from the episode outside of it's very clear the Jets do not want to do this. And like,
even though Aaron Rodgers said, "Oh, it's been a wonderful process. Like, I'm really enjoying it," and I mean, really, they just highlighted pretty much the biggest thing is that I didn't know this for whatever reason, but Liev Schreiber is the narrator for Hard Knocks. And spoiler, he may make an appearance.
How many times? Yeah. How many times did they say the voice of fucking God in the episode? It was just like, all right, we get it.
Not them, just Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, it was just like, all right, we got it.
Aaron Rodgers was like, you guys don't want to meet him? Guys, look, he looks so uncomfortable over there. Like, why don't you go?
He's the voice of God.
Yeah,
go be an asshole. Go be nice.
Yeah,
be nice.
don't be an asshole.
Yeah, Hackett was just like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, it seems like it's going to be fun, but it really was just kind of like a recap of all the shit that we've seen with the Jets so far. And I don't know, man. It was kind of, I would have been more excited if we got to see the Dalvin negotiations. That would have been, I think that's what kind of killed the episode for me. We didn't get to see any of the Dalvin negotiations.
Yeah, and I mean, that's probably in episode 2, because I think it was leaked that he will, like, there will be something about him in it.
Interesting. I heard they don't want to like go into it too much.
Yeah, that's what first came out, and then after that, they someone said that there will be a little bit about it, but not anything crazy.
Yeah, that tells me Dalvin Cook's not going to be a Jet.
Well, you already knew that, so
yeah.
He's not going to Miami either.
I'd kind of laugh if he ends up back in Minnesota. Everyone who took Madison in the time frame is just like,
Putting their hair out,
like, fuck.
Foiled again. We'll probably be talking about this until the season starts. Probably give it 5 minutes every episode, unless
if you could pick happens. A non AFC East location for Dalvin, where do you have?
Non AFC Dallas.
It's Dallas or Philly for me.
Jesus Christ. Go sell DeAndre Swift right now.
I've been trying to tell people about Swift everywhere, where it's just like Philadelphia was last in throws to the running back. And I get it. Someone could be like, well, that's why they got Swift, to improve that. I'm here to tell you, if it ain't broke, you don't fix it. Yeah. They don't need to throw it to the running back.
They do not. The RB1 there is Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. Well, it'll be Rashad Penny for a week and a half.
Come on, bro. You're pushing it. All right, calm down.
Yeah. Penny for week 1. Rashad Penny goes for 238 yards. Week 2, first quarter, broken collarbone.
So, with broken collarbone intact, we are introducing a new segment that will be covering all 4 positions, and going into it. And I'll let JT kind of explain. It is King of the Hill. What we got?
Yeah. Yay! One of my skits finally made it to the show. Look at this, guys. We're moving on up in the world.
There's like 4 skits on this fucking show.
Basically, we're just gonna go division by division and just kind of pick who we think is going to be the number 1 fantasy player. Need to emphasize this is a delineation between fantasy production and in real life production
for this year, right?
For this season. Some of them are fairly obvious, and I think some of the other picks might surprise people. And while this won't be, it'll be different than like a tiered QB rankings thing. I think if we go division by division, you can target some like late round value here, where it's like, hey, this guy is going to have 6 games where he's the best quarterback on the field, and those are advantageous, regardless of whatever defense it is. If a good QB is facing a bad QB, hey, man, he might pick up a few easy touchdowns because a guy throws a pick on the wrong side of the field. Those advantages can be exploited. So we're going to go division by division, and we'll throw up an obvious one here, AFC East. Josh Allen.
Mac Jones.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think the race for number 2 there is probably a little more interesting.
I think it's more concise on health.
Yeah, no, 100% for both Tua and Rodgers there. I'd probably lean Tua over Rodgers right now just because, McDaniel is that dude. So,
Not only McDaniels is that dude, but they also have one of the best wide receiver twos in the league in
I
Jalen
mean,
Waddle.
yeah, that might be the number one receiving corpse in the league, to be honest with
Whoa,
you.
careful, buddy. You don't want to get
Yep.
these T. Higgins truthers started, okay?
I will take Jalen Waddle over T. Higgins every
Any
time.
day. Any day.
Yeah. So I think the next one's kind of interesting for us, the AFC North. And for me, it's Lamar, and it doesn't really matter 4-point or 6-point. Had Burrow not got hurt, I think if it's 6 points per pass touchdown, it starts to get a little interesting. Do you want Burrow, who's probably a little safer than Lamar? Clearly, Lamar has the rushing advantage there, new offense, yada, yada, yada. But with the injury right now to Burrow, it's Lamar. The forgotten guy is kind of Watson there, where I try to remind people throughout Deshaun Watson's career, including last year, he only has 4 games under double-digit points at the position. So he is, he has been that guy. He has been, the number 2 guy off the board in a super flex. And despite all of this, he is still, as we've gotten a clearer picture of when he'll be back on the field, he's now kind of like he got back to being a solidified back end first round pick in super flex drafts. So,
and update on Joe Burrow's injury, real quick. Zach Taylor came out and said he is several weeks away from when he said he was several weeks away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're not going to.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Pete.
Yeah. Very helpful there. I think that Burrow, I'd be shocked to see him in September, man. I was kind of surprised they didn't go after Bridgewater there.
Bridgewater signed with the Lions.
Yeah, he signed with the Lions. I was kind of surprised to see that, Cincinnati didn't make a play for him. They have Simeon and Jake Browning there splitting first team reps. So that just kind of, and they have a tough first month. So kind of downgrades all the Cincinnati guys for me so far. That being said, I still think even with Joe Burrow at full health, it might be Lamar. I'm really bullish on Lamar. And,
look, I mean, what people aren't remembering is that Todd Monken's system is going to spread out the offense, right? Even if OBJ lost a step in his ability and his agility, he's still a pretty damn good blocking wide receiver. And so with that being said, if the wide receivers are covered, Lamar's just going to run. And I think it's not going to be what everyone thinks it's going to be, where it's going to be this huge, like, crazy passing season. I think it's going to be more passing for sure. He's going to have a higher pass percentage, but at the same time, I think his rushing is going to sustain at it as it has, but it's going to be a little better in the fact where he's not going to have to run through the tackles as much. And he's just because Todd Monken will open up the field by using play action and by using these wide receiver sets that spread it out. So Lamar will be running still.
Yeah. I mean, the ceiling is Louisville Lamar. I think Todd Monken is a really good offensive play caller. I mean, last we saw, he made Baker look magnificent in Cleveland. They went to the AFC Championship game and got Chad Henney'd. I think if you go back and you look at the Georgia tape, man, this guy is scheming up 50, 60-yard rushing touchdowns for Stetson Bennett. And, I know Stetson Bennett surprised with his 40-yard dash. I think he ran like a 4.59, which was very surprising for me. I didn't think he was that fast. Lamar is, much faster than Stetson Bennett. So I do think that it's not going to be the Greg Roman style where, like, the defense is keying on Lamar on every single play, and then they're just running quarterback power. I think Monken is going to have designated runs that are schemed in for big chunks of plays. And in turn, that'll put less wear on Lamar.
Exactly.
And I think in the end, that will be very, very fruitful for his fantasy managers.
Mm-hmm. And
so
it came out today that Rashad Bateman is off the PUP list. So
yeah, we'll see. I'm not jumping to get the Baltimore Ravens wide receiver 3 until further notice.
So that just means you're saying Zay Flowers is the wide receiver 1 there.
I'm close to saying it. I'm very close to saying it. I'm very bullish on Zay Flowers moving forward. All right, let's get to the AFC South. This one's a fairly obvious one. It's Trevor Lawrence.
No.
I don't think that. I don't think there's really anyone in the South to really challenge it. It would take a Mahomesian effort out of Stroud, which I don't think anyone's confusing CJ Stroud for Patrick Mahomes at this point in time. Tannehill has had some QB1 stretches, but I think he has a lack of weapons, and I think the cap monster is kind of eating Tennessee right now. And then who's the last team in the South?
Anthony Richardson.
Wow. Oh, A-Rich is interesting. If he has all the reports about him have been glowing. Apparently he's much, much more advanced than anyone had anticipated, which is kind of par for the course here. Richardson could conceivably challenge Lawrence, but I find it hard.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
It has to be in the rushing upside too. Like that. That's how. Yeah. That's how he challenges Lawrence. And
I think Lawrence runs a little bit himself. He's a good athlete.
He had 5 touchdowns last year.
Yeah, I think he's probably good for about 350, 400 rushing yards. I mean, that's not what we're expecting out of Richardson. We're kind of projecting him for like 600 to 800 rushing yards. But I think, Lawrence, he's got Doug Peterson. He's familiar with the offense. This is, he's in year 2 of this offensive system. They add Calvin Ridley to an already pretty good offensive playmaking core. Tank Bigsby should be a good complement to ETN. The biggest question there is they are kind of short on offensive line depth here. They lost Jawan Taylor to the Chiefs, and Cam Robinson is suspended for the first 4 or 6 games. I don't recall. So that's that could be an issue here. That's the only thing that I could see derailing Trevor Lawrence's success. But it's Lawrence. It's too hot takey for me to go Anthony Richardson there.
Yeah, what a hot take for me though there is that a second-year wide receiver that no one was really talking about, which there is some hype around him in training camp. He's also a wide receiver 2 there, is the deep threat Alec Pierce.
Trying to buy a little post-hype sleeper there on Pierce.
I mean, like Anthony Richardson can throw that long ball, and that's what Alec Pierce does. And so, like, with that being said, I think in the next 2 years, it will show if Anthony Richardson really had no talent on that Florida team. And he is a better quarterback than what his completion percentage says. Sure. And when we're talking about his completion percentage, it's low, but like it's not too far off from the average medium in the NFL. And so, like, we're not talking about like 20 points here. You know what I mean? We're talking about like 8 to 10. And like, granted, it is a lot at the volume, but I mean, with whatever's going to happen with Jonathan Taylor and that rushing attack, it's going to show how Anthony Richardson can adapt and actually hone in his accuracy, which I think is just tweaking a little here and there.
Yeah, I mean, look, we'll see. I love Steichen there. I think Steichen's going to manufacture a lot of easy completions for Richardson. I'm not so concerned about the completion percentage in college. I think Florida was overmatched coaching-wise, and he's also really young. I think he's only like 21 years old. So playing in the toughest, conference, not surprised he had a low completion percentage. So, you know, the AFC West, AJ's saying they actually have some depth. They love Anton Harrison, Walker Little. They're serviceable. Yeah, I mean, it's a nitpick. I'm just kind of pointing out, you know, they are replacing the edges that protect Lawrence. That's the only way.
I mean, you got a nitpick when they were ranked number 1 in pass protection last year.
Sure.
So like, you know, with breaking something or taking something away from something that isn't broken, I mean, you know, you gotta talk about that.
We'll see. We got AFC West. It's Mahomes. It's too hot takey to go Herbert over Mahomes, but you know, it's Mahomes and then Herbert and then, you know, Wilson and Garoppolo. Is there a world where Justin Herbert and Kellen Moore kind of just go, you know, Madden style and just go completely bonkers and throw 50 touchdowns? I guess, but I have moderate concerns about the health of their, you know, receiving corps there. Can their O-line stay intact? Because as we saw last year, they did not. And then Herbert just was getting pulverized and playing with broken ribs the rest of the year. It's hard to put anyone over Mahomes. He's still number 1 for me in that division.
What about a kind of shitty division, the NFC West?
Yeah, this is tough. You know, everyone's kind of, everyone's kind of just this fantasy wise. I'm gonna go Stafford.
Okay. Are you concerned about Kupp's injury?
Moderately. I mean, the Rams are saying he's day to day. It seems like it's less than the initial sticker shock. I'm mostly banking. The reason that I'm going with Stafford here is, you know, he's an established arm. And for all the love that we give Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay is his equal offensively. I mean, all you got to do is look back to the Baker Mayfield destruction of the Denver Broncos last year, which was a good defense. And on Christmas Day, you know, the Rams hung up 54 on them with Baker. I mean,
Cam Akers and Tyler Higbee had a good amount to say about that.
Baker bleeping Mayfield. And look, there are protection issues there. I don't know anyone on their offensive line. I truly don't. But I do believe with an offseason, McVay can scheme up protection schemes to keep Stafford upright. And in that they kind of have no one else on defense other than Aaron Donald. I do think that they're going to be chasing quite a lot of points there. But here's the thing. If you told me Geno Smith, because they added Jackson Smith and Jigba, and both of their running backs are hurt right now, I would not argue with you. If you want to say Brock Purdy, I won't argue with you either. Just having the Kyle Shanahan quarterback is fun. If you want to say Colt McCoy or Clayton Tune, I would say let's play fantasy. You should join every fantasy league I'm in.
Jumble.
Yeah, I mean, who you got there?
I'm gonna go with Geno here.
It's fair.
I think Geno has more weapons. I think he has weapons out of the backfield too. I don't think that Stafford will be throwing the ball too much to Cam Akers unless he gets injured mid-game or something, and they pull up Brock Purdy from the championship game last year. And, you know, I mean, I think obviously Tyler Lockett is better than Van Jefferson and
Ben
Skowronek and
Tutu Atwell.
Well, yeah, and then you got JSN. I think better than Puka Nacua. So,
well, not according to training camp reports.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I love Puka. Like personally, like just I love the Pookie. I love Puka. What? Anyways, going forward, it is tough because like handily the Cooper Kupp Matt Stafford connection could put up more points than DK and Lockett and Geno combined. So it's a little tough, but I think that, like you said, I wouldn't argue. I think it's a fair assessment on both of them. It's kind of just like you're in the 10th, 11th round, and kind of like either you already drafted a quarterback or you're going to be streaming, and you're like, all right, fuck it, I'm just going to pull one out of the hat.
Yeah, that's a tough division to peg there. And going to another tough division here, NFC South, or is it
NFC South? We got Derek Carr. We got Baker Mayfield. We got Bryce
maybe
Young.
not. It might be Kyle Trask.
It might be Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield. Kyle Mayfield. Bryce Young and Desmond Ritter. Y'all know who I'm going with.
Taylor Heineke.
My man in the ATL. I'm going with Desmond Ritter.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Carr.
Yeah, me too.
It's too easy of a schedule.
Dome. Well, they're all in dome.
Yeah.
Except Carolina.
Yeah, I just think Derek Carr has a fairly easy schedule, and I think a QB 13 finish might finish number 1 there in that division. So, yeah.
Really? Finally a QB1 season?
No, I said 13.
Oh.
You could go if someone wanted to say Bryce Young, I wouldn't be shocked. I think people are really sleeping on Bryce Young.
He's just a little guy.
Don't matter when they're going to throw it 600 times with Frank Reich at the helm. So,
NFC East is pretty easy.
NFC what? East?
Yeah.
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts. I mean, I think the fun debate is probably Dak versus Daniel Jones. That's a fun debate fantasy wise. I don't know. I think I'm leaning Dak.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little more than a lean. I have Dak firmly over Jones. I'm hard pressed to see Jones rushing for 700 yards again.
So,
like there's no defense of coordinator that's going to be like, oh shit, Daniel Jones is running it 10 times a game. We're unprepared.
I've been getting into some arguments on Instagram about how.
Really? People argue on Instagram?
No, only on Twitter and TikTok.
No,
anything that starts with a T.
It's called X.
Sorry, Elon. Jesus, I'll return my Tesla now.
And
people are saying, well, like, you got to draft Waller. He's the number 1 receiving option on that team. Like, No, you forget about a little big guy named Saquon Barkley. He is the number 1 option in the receiving game on that team.
Yeah. I just don't want to bank on Waller.
Don't
healthy.
Believe the hype.
You got some analysts out here putting him as tight end too.
I mean,
to put him over Andrews is kind of crazy.
It's like he's got to stay healthy. Like
even if he stays healthy, I don't know if he outproduces Andrews.
I don't think so either. But speaking of health, and I hope he stays healthy. Like, that would be dope. But like, if you have a pick to waste, which we all do at the end, and especially if you're starting up in Dynasty and have a pick to waste at the end, go grab Daniel Bellinger.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he was doing pretty damn well before he shot his eye out.
Yeah, that's AJ. That's AJ's boy, by the way, Daniel Bellinger.
I mean, he was what? I mean, he was touchdown dependent, like most tight ends are that you get in the later rounds, but he was serviceable for sure. He was just like he was on his way to I think outproduce Pat Freiermuth in his rookie year.
I'd have to look at the stats. That feels kind of shocky.
Speaking of which, the Saints.
Yeah. So that leaves us with the NFC North. And this really gets, I mean, if we thought the NFC West was a tough choice,
I think this is the hardest one because they're actually good quarterbacks that like can be serviceable and fantasy relevant here.
So like the snap answer is Justin Fields.
I found this on the web for Hey Serviceable Fan.
What is happening right now?
I don't know. Elon didn't like your Twitter comment.
I guess not. Well, X.
X. Yeah, he didn't. Yeah. So I mean, it's fairly. Fields is probably the easiest choice there. I mean, the guy's coming off an 1,100-yard year. He showed number one overall potential in Superflex. He's if he can improve with DJ Moore and a familiarity in the system. They did draft some O-line help there. If he goes on the trajectory that's projected, he's head and shoulders above everyone else. But if he doesn't, you have two guys there who have put up QB1 seasons in Cousins and Goff, albeit in unsexy ways, but both of their supporting casts are significantly better than what Fields has. So this is really tough. And Jordan Love's firmly fourth for me there. I really think Jordan Love's going to suck. I don't know.
He made a throw on the run. Did you see that?
Yeah, I think Jordan Love. Anyone who's holding the bag there, I think he's going to suck. So, I'm going Fields, but it feels like kind of like the obvious one. I'm going to roll Fields there. Just the rushing upside is just kind of too much to pass there, and I'll probably go Cousins over Goff.
I'm gonna go Cousins.
Interesting.
I'm gonna go Cousins with Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Dalvin Cook returning to Minnesota.
There you go.
It's
there you go.
But I mean, I don't think Dalvin Cook. I don't think Justin Fields has another year where he has over 5 40-yard runs for touchdowns. I don't think it's plausible. I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think it's consistent. He's gonna have to. What they are saying in camp is that he got better throwing the ball, which I mean, having DJ Moore helps a lot.
Yeah,
and having a year 3 tight end in Cole Kmet. I think people are sleeping on Cole Kmet just personally. Maybe it's just because I keep getting stuck with him in fucking drafts. I don't know. But they signed him for a reason. They signed him to a bigger contract than most running backs nowadays, even though that's not hard. So, I think his weapons are a little bit underrated.
Okay.
But at the same time, the way Roschon Johnson gets implemented in that running back room is through the pass game.
Interesting take there.
Because look, I mean, the other two running backs aren't wide receivers, right? They run through the tackles and they're barn burners. Like they put their all through the tackles and up
Herbert
the guts.
And Foreman.
Yeah.
Herbert and Foreman. Up the guts.
Yeah, up the guts, up the butts. Anyways, and so with that being said, Roschon Johnson would have been an amazing starting running back, but he was behind Bijan Robinson. Just an even more amazing starting running back.
I think he got enough. He got a lot of play time. He kind of had some play time where Bijan kind of got to, I'm not gonna say sit on the sidelines, but there was he for having such a generational talent in the same backfield. I think Roschon played quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Amon-Ra top 4 receiver this year. Yeah, I mean, if he gets red zone opportunities there, I think that's certainly a possibility. I wouldn't bet on it. But I mean, hey, that's now with Joe Burrow hurt, does that knock Chase out of the top 4? Devontae Smith's emergence, does that knock AJ Brown out of that range? It's not inconceivable. I just probably wouldn't bet on it.
So let's say Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, and then Amon-Ra.
I think with Kupp's injury, I have Tyreek ahead of Kupp.
Okay. Well, sorry. So okay. JJ, Tyreek, Kupp, Amon-Ra.
Could be.
So that's over Devontae. That's over CeeDee Lamb. That's over, obviously, Garrett Wilson. That's over. So Randy's saying JJ, Chase, Reek, and Amon-Ra.
I mean, look, I'm not. This is just kind of like one of those things where it's like I'm not going to slander Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
That's
no, it's kind of hard to do that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna slander him. I like him a lot. It's a big jump.
Mm-hmm. And speaking
but
of big
it's not
jumps,
not inconceivable.
Inconceivable. What's not inconceivable and not a big jump is smashing that like and smashing that subscribe. We do it for the people. Fantasy is life, and you know it's a vibe. So let's no, it's good, man. We live for this. This is what we do.
We're here for.
Yeah, exactly. Please keep it coming. Please keep it coming. Keep coming back, man.
We finished the QB segment anyway.
Okay, perfect. So that, let's see. I think we're probably gonna have to do tight ends next week. That's fine.
They can keep doing Kegel exercises.
Kegel, yes.
Keep those ends tight.
Baby girl, what's your name? Let me talk to you. What's in the...
Put the gun down.
I saw you with the box. What was in the box?
Because I envy your normal life.
Put the gun down, David.
It seems that envy is my sin.
Oh, what's in the box?
Not till you give me the
What's
gun.
in the fucking box?
Give me the gun.
What's in the Box is a segment where we tell you and talk to you about players that you should sell for the cha-ching, the bag. And, they're kind of ever flowing. It's really based on Dynasty for right now because redraft is people are still being drafted. And there's not as many trades in the off season for redraft than there is for Dynasty, obviously. So let's see. What are we doing? We kind of touched on it earlier, but Javonte.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you had that reverse, if you were getting the one for Javonte, I'd probably hop on that. He's kind of transitioning into a tepid buy here. I'm still probably taking the box just where we're at right now. New offensive system. I think the Broncos have a tougher slate than people realize. And just kind of like looking at where that offense was last year, man, I love Sean Payton as an offensive play caller and everything, but that's still a lot to overcome from where they were last year to now. Yeah, I don't know, man. Javonte is just that's a tough one for me. I'd rather have a random first round pick next year. I think that's more likely to accrue in value than Javonte.
AJ Brown.
Oof. Depends on what the box is. If I'm getting like a package that is worthy of, some of the guys that we said in the top four before, like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, those guys, then I might entertain it. That's what it's going to take for me to move off of AJ. If it's super flex, I'm going to want some good young pieces. It's all kind of roster contingent for AJ Brown, but I'm probably holding him unless I'm rebuilding. If I'm rebuilding, then I'm probably just offloading.
Trevor Lawrence.
No.
That was easy.
Yeah.
What about Chase?
So I think it's probably a bad time to sell Chase. Unless you have someone who believes Joe Burrow is going to be there week one. That's the only way I would entertain it. But we dodged the Chase sell, and like I said in our previous episode here, if it is Trevor Siemian, if it is Jake Browning, what we see a lot of teams do is they simplify the reads, they make it a one read concept, And that means that they're just going to look for Jamar Chase and try to throw it to him 15 fucking times a game. So, no, I'm not. I'm holding kind of firm for Jamar Chase. And if you're going to try to buy him from me, I'm probably going to say Joe Burrow. We're going to make a deal on the assumption Joe Burrow will be there week 1. I'm not selling him for anything less, especially in a dynasty format. Chase is one of those crown jewels that rebuilding, contending, in between, you just kind of want to keep him.
That's all I got for what's in the box. Randy said I definitely want Samaje on my roster if I have Javonte.
I mean, yeah, of course. Some people want Samaje over Javonte. That's probably a little too rich for me. Just pedigree wise and just kind of production wise. What you're hoping for with Samaje Perine is kind of like what Jerick McKinnon did for the Chiefs last year. I think the most interesting what's in the box, guys, for Dynasty right now is the older wide receiver types, like Devontae Adams.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to get measurable value for what he's going to produce, because I think it's a fair assumption Devontae is going to get 100 catches, 1,200 yards, and 9 touchdowns this year. I feel like that's a very, very attainable baseline for him as long as he stays healthy, which he's been pretty healthy outside of a early kind of nagging injuries. I'm again, my biggest conspiracy with tinfoil hat on is that Devontae Adams is going to be a Jet.
Yeah, I'm sharing that hat with you.
Yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence that Aaron Rodgers conveniently, gave up. I know he didn't really give it up. It's just kind of like spread out in a different way, but he subtracted $35 million in guarantees. Oh, who makes $30 million a year? Devontae Adams. So I think that would be very, very interesting, but it's very hard to get value from because everybody hates Jimmy Garoppolo, but I don't know. Garoppolo does a pretty good job of getting the ball to his primary targets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's that bad.
What about Tyreek?
So that's another guy where it's like historically wide receivers with his frame, once the speed goes, what's going to happen with Tyreek? Because he's not like a meticulous route runner. He's not like Devontae where he uses route running to garner separation. He's purely like, I'm going to beat you with raw athleticism. But that's a gamble that I probably want to take because if he hits, he's a week winner on a weekly basis. So, especially with Mike McDaniel calling the plays there, Tua is a pretty accurate quarterback. I don't know if he's the most accurate quarterback ever, like Tyreek said, but he's going to get him the ball. He's going to get the ball out of his hands. There's going to be some yak potential there with Reek and Waddle. And as we said, both him and Waddle were able to support wide receiver 1 season. So it's tough. Here's my philosophy that I would impart to some people. If you are giving up a Tyreek, if you are giving up a Devontae, what you have to bake into your price is I am giving up the opportunity to contend. You have to pay a little bit more because why else are you trading for this guy? Don't tell me, oh, Devontae's 30. I don't want to give you a first round pick. And it's like, well, if you want him, we're both operating on the assumption that he's going to produce this year. And the whole point is to win a championship. So let's not negotiate in bad faith here.
And if you want to wait with Tyreek Hill, wait until like week 2 or see if like someone wins the first 3 weeks in a row. Trade Tyreek Hill to them because they will more willingly offer the bag for Tyreek rather than right now. Yeah,
I think the buy window for Tyreek was when he got sent to Miami. That was kind of the time to buy Tyreek because no one knew what the hell was going to happen. Yeah. And like, oh no, he doesn't have Mahomes anymore. I don't. So like the other guy that's kind of like in this kind of bubble is like Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen's probably the hardest person to trade in fantasy. it's almost at the point where it's like you have to take 2 twos to offload him, and that's kind of like not what you want to do because the guy doesn't stay healthy, but whenever he is on the field, he's producing wide receiver 1 numbers. He's attached to Justin Jefferson. His role is secure. He's him and Henry are probably the hardest pieces to trade in fantasy. And I would say Allen is probably a little bit harder because with Derrick Henry, if I'm selling Derrick Henry and people are like, oh, well, he's going to be 30, the easy counter is we've never seen a running back look like him. So we can knock that off. He's basically like bigger Bo Jackson, which is kind of wild to say out loud. So Keenan Allen's probably like the hardest person to trade in fantasy. Mike Evans probably fits in that group as well.
I'm down. Give me Mike Evans. I will take him. If I'm contending, I'm taking Mike Evans.
Really? You're buying Mike Evans there?
Yes.
I think Mike Evans is kind of
what did you just say though? He's the hardest to sell right now, so why wouldn't I buy him?
Sure. I mean, if you could get him for, a random second rounder, sure, why not? I mean, I would take Mike Evans over Rashad Bateman. I would take Mike Evans over Elijah Moore. I would take Mike Evans over those guys where it's like you're just hoping for that.
Mm-hmm.
I really think Mike Evans, low key, he's probably a Hall of Famer, man. This guy won Johnny Manziel a Heisman. Everyone's like, oh, Johnny Football. Oh, it was Mike Evans. Fuck it. Manziel just said, fuck it. Mike Evans is there somewhere. The guy was the number 6 overall pick in the draft or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So
killed it with Winston.
Yeah.
Killed it with Brady. The guy's an absolute monster. Yeah. Probably a Hall of Fame player.
AJ saying sell Devontae, and Randy is asking how would Adams going to New York affect Garrett Wilson?
Well, I mean, like, the snap judgment is always going to be like it's non-ideal. But I don't think the counter to that would be who's the Jets wide receiver 2 right now anyway? Allen Lazard. It's not like they have a tight end that siphons 100 targets a year. I think there's more than enough room there in a Hackett offense with Rodgers at the helm to kind of get both guys 8 to 10 targets a game. I don't think they would be an issue for each other, especially since Garrett Wilson has experience being in wide receiver rooms with a Chris Olave, with a Jackson Smith and Jigba. So I think it would work. I think they would complement very well, and I think it would work in real life, and I think it would work in fantasy as well. I don't think, as long as you have a competent quarterback, I don't think it should scare you off. Look at Tyreek and Waddle. Look at A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Look at Chase and Higgins. You bet on the talent.
Hell, look at Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones when Rodgers was in Green Bay. Like, I mean, Aaron Jones had some prolific wide receiving numbers. Like, I mean, so like, granted they had Lazard there, but like there wasn't that wide receiver too. But I mean, I think if you're in a dynasty league and like the ghost of Corey Davis is on your waiver wire, there's no reason not to pick him up.
Sure. I mean, they kept him. They're paying him $11 million.
Well, 1, they're paying him. 2, they kept him. 3, he's playing with the best quarterback that he's ever played with. He had Ryan Tannehill and then Zach Wilson. Like, let's be real about
Mariota before that.
Okay, it's the same fucking difference. I mean, like Mariota is run first and then injure later. I mean, it's like, so like the only one that is in that wide receiver core, obviously other than Cobb and Lazard, that has had a better quarterback is McCole Hardman. And he was like the number 3 option on that team.
Yeah, he's just going to take the top off the defense.
Yeah, he was a poor man's Deebo Samuel. Yeah. So, I think that's a little tidbit. If you're out there and Corey Davis is on that waiver wire, go scoop him up. AJ saying Garoppolo is a poor deep passer and a shit ton of Tay's production came on deep touchdowns.
I think Devontae's a multi-purpose guy at wide receiver that can make the adjustment. I honestly
don't think his where where he caught the ball, I don't think he has many 30-plus air yards receiving touchdowns.
I mean, the one that comes to mind is when he absolutely torched Patrick Surtain to walk off the Broncos.
JT was talking about that all year last year after it happened.
I mean, it was an epic route.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I think we watched that game together on top of it. I don't know. I just think Devontae's, QB proof in a lot of ways. But I mean, hey, you could counter with maybe AJ's onto something here where, this is why Devontae's being vocal and saying he doesn't like X, Y, and Z, what's going on. Could be. I don't know. I still am on the side of there's been a dip on Devontae in drafts, and I am happy to buy it.
And that moves us into our last segment, which is the comedic relief in the toilet.
Oh, God. I'm going to have diarrhea again. It's okay. Mom! Bathroom! Bathroom! Bathroom!
Oh, that's a big boy, isn't he?
That's a big boy, isn't he? Eat, Shit, and Die is a trade segment that we talk about trades that we were offered, going back and forth, and then they offer one last one, and it's like, why? Have we not been talking this whole fucking time? But I have one right off the rip. It is there wasn't much back and forth. I kind of just had to explain to him that it wasn't a good deal. I was pretty nice about it. I would receive what?
Look at you.
I would receive Christian McCaffrey, Chris Godwin, and Zay Flowers. And this is a super flex league. And I would send Calvin Ridley, Mac Jones, Jonathan Mingo, and Bijan Robinson.
Oh, okay. I was like waiting. I was like, this doesn't sound that bad so far. Yeah, no, that's problematic.
To every viewer out there, when JT says that's problematic, he just doesn't want to say 4 words.
Yeah. I think, what's kind of crazy, what I've kind of been seeing as a trend is you really have to check what B Robinson you're getting, because some people are
I did double check that.
Some people are drafting Bijan Robinson and Brian Robinson and then trying to sell Brian Robinson for Bijan Robinson prices. So please, 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 please make sure you check for the ATL next to B Robinson, not the WAS next to Brian Robinson.
Discount double check.
Exactly. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, where do you even go from there? My biggest thing is like when people are trying to like make trades and it's just like, well, counter, and it's like, well, there's just nowhere really to go here. Like, we got to at least be in the same zip code. Like, what am I going to counter? No, I'm not sending you Patrick Mahomes for Mac Jones and Geno Smith. Oh, that's a good one too. You're right. AJ mentioned Jamar Jefferson too. This is where things get tricky, people. The old Michael.
I haven't seen that one yet.
The old Michael Thomas on Cincinnati.
That happened in a league last year that I was watching them draft live, and
it happens in auctions a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I watched someone bid like $21 on Michael Thomas, and everyone was like, "Congratulations." That ain't the Mike Thomas you think it is.
You got him. Do you have any?
I mean, no. Do we want to talk about the veto? That's about the only thing I have to say. Eat, shit, and die about. No, I mean, I think the other trade that we have isn't booked. I don't think that was an eat shit and die though. I mean, I sent Derek Carr, Aaron Jones, and Donovan Peoples-Jones for first and third next year. That was the trade I made with. That was the trade I made with Eamon.
That was a first and a third.
Yeah, I got a first and a third
Okay.
for Derek Carr, Aaron Jones, and Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Watch, he's not going to finish in last place this year.
Well, I mean, that was the thing that like I was kind of like looking at it. I was just like, damn, I'm really kind of helping him here. I don't know if he's going to finish in last now, but I think based on rosters in the league, I feel like it's kind of safe to project it as a top 4.
Mm-hmm.
By
the way, this trade was brought to you by me because I made a trade with the same person and I'm a fucking idiot and told JT. JT didn't even notice, right? We all have these group chats on mute because it's too many leagues. And so I told him. I made the fucking mistake of telling him. And then literally, I wake up at 3 in the morning. I don't know why. I had to piss or something. I wake up at 5 usually. I woke up at 3 in the morning. I see this fucking trade, and it kept me up for like 15 minutes. Just like, why did I did this to myself? And Jeremy, JT's just like sitting in New York and Brooklyn with his fucking Thanos thing. Like, I am inevitable.
Well, I mean, you just told you were like, I got the 201, and I was just like, Eben's traded his rookie picks. Oh shit, let's go.
Damn it.
I was like, it's that time of the year. He's traded his rookie picks. I'll fucking go grab one real.
It wasn't about this time last year too that you got it.
Yeah, but I didn't get the 101 because someone decided to tank. It's okay. I'm happy with Anthony Richardson. But yeah, no, I mean, it helps his team. So how did the trade? I proposed. So I offered Carr, Jones, and so he wanted Peoples-Jones. We talked a little bit. My initial offer was Carr and my second for his 1 and 3. So, granted, this started with I wanted to send him my first round pick for Nick Chubb, and he was like, no. And I was like, all right. Then I offered Carr for his first. Then he countered Carr and Cousins for his first, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not sending Kirk Cousins. Is just not it. I'm not doing that. And then,
well, maybe you should have done that and then tanked too. So
Yeah, right. So then I offered Carr, and so like months go by. That's just kind of like the preamble. I offered Carr and a 2 for his first and third, and he was like, no, keeping my first, unless it's a package that includes one of your starters. And I was like, well, counter. And then he didn't counter. He just asked for Carr, Jones, and Peoples-Jones. I sent it for Tank and a 1, and I guess he likes Tank, so try to get Tank Bigsby there. But he actually countered to Derek Carr and Ramondre Stevenson for Tank Bigsby and a 1, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not fucking doing that. Then we settled on Carr, Aaron Jones, and Donovan DPJ. And now I hope all of those guys suck. But I don't think he has the worst team anymore. So I might have kind of like cucked myself a little bit there.
My team just keeps getting older and I stay the same age.
Yeah. I think Derek Carr is going to surprise some people, man. He is going to a familiar coaching staff. And he really, I mean, it's a fairly easy divisional slate and a fairly easy just schedule in general. I don't think he faces like a top 10 QB. So, yeah. And Aaron Jones, fucking Jordan Love just completed a pass on the run. So he's probably going to be doing a lot of handing off and dump offs.
Whoa. Handy dumps brought to you by Fancy Shot Callers.
Yeah.
You got any more trades, or are we about to wrap this thing up?
Handy dumps? Could that be like a competitor for Dude Wipes?
Yes.
Look
Anytime.
at that. Let's
It's a
go.
portable toilet.
Yeah, let's go. No, I'm good. I don't
All
think I
right.
got it.
Well, that brings us to another end of an episode of the Fantasy Shot Callers Live. Make sure to like and subscribe for all your fantasy football tips and tricks. Make sure to go download the Sleeper app if you're not playing on that app already. The app to rule all apps in fantasy. And use our code Shot Callers when you're making your first deposit to double it. And play best ball against us. Do some over-unders. It's a good time. If you want a trophy and you want some money off, go check out Trophy Smack. If you want to talk some shit, go check out Trophy Smack as well and use code SHOTCallers for 15% off. And y'all know what it is. Fantasy is life. And I want to give a shout-out to JT from Between Your Ears podcast. Go check them out as well. Doing some shit and doing some ish and talking some divisions. And
crying about the Yankees.
Crying about the Yankees. It's all encompass sports. So once again, smash that like, smash that subscribe. Every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Superflex Sundays, same time on Sunday where we mock draft. And then Mondays is safe space. Once the season starts, come celebrate your triumphs and cry away your sorrow with 7 o'clock and the safe space crew. 2 for me and 2 for you. So y'all know what it is. Fantasy is life. Once again, y'all know it's a vibe. Peace and love, y'all, and have a great rest of your